The ocean always holds a captivating beauty for young children, but behind the white-capped waves and sprawling beaches lies the invisible power of nature that can never be underestimated. For Daniel and Emma, protecting Leo is not just about physically shielding him from danger, but equipping him with the necessary reverence for the boundaries of safety. Daniel, with a man's protective mindset, always acts as the impassable warning beacon. He uses extreme decisiveness and strictness to halt impulsive actions. Conversely, Emma, with a mother's heart, is the source of understanding. She helps her son realize that every refusal is woven from boundless love. On the third day of the vacation, the sky turned a murky gray. The wind blew harder, carrying the salty tang of the sea, and the waves began to swell fiercely, crashing thunderously against the shore. The lifeguards had planted bright red flags along the beach, the absolute warning sign forbidding swimming. Daniel stood with his arms crossed on the sand, his stance steadfast but incredibly alert in a black t-shirt and dark blue swim trunks. Emma stood beside him, her thin beige linen cover-up fluttering in the wind. Leo, despite seeing the large waves, was still in his bright orange swimsuit, holding a turtle-shaped swim ring, eagerly demanding to go into the water. "Leo, no one is going in the water today. The red flags are up. The sea is very rough and dangerous," Daniel said, his voice deep and thick with authority. But the 6-year-old, with blind confidence after 2 days of swimming in shallow water, showed no fear. Leo lifted his chin, sticking his lip out in a pout. "But I'm a good swimmer, Daddy. I have my turtle ring. If the waves are big, it'll just float on them. You guys worry too much." Saying that, the boy stubbornly marched toward the water's edge, ignoring his father's warning. His son's defiant action and lack of reverence for nature caused Daniel to explode instantly. He lunged forward, grabbing Leo's tiny arm and yanking the boy back. Daniel's pupils shrank. His eyebrows surged together, clenching so tightly they formed a deep crater on his forehead. He squinted his eyes sharply, shooting fiery glares that pinned down the struggling boy. His nostrils flared repeatedly with rapid breathing out of indignation. He gritted his upper and lower teeth, grinding them audibly to suppress the shock. Both his hands gripped his son's shoulders tightly, his shoulders tensing under the black t-shirt. "Leo, stand right there!" Daniel roared, his voice drowning out the growling waves, carrying the power of an unshakable mountain. "Your confidence before the ocean right now is stupidity. Do you think this toy ring can save you from waves that can sweep away a car?" Leo was so terrified that his lips quivered violently, his chin dropped, and he dropped the turtle ring. He had never seen his father so scary and angry when standing before the sea. Emma stepped forward, sensing her son's panic and her husband's absolute terror. She placed a hand on Daniel's vein-lined arm, squeezing it tightly. "I'm here. Let me explain the red flag to him." Daniel squeezed his eyes shut, let out a long, heavy exhale, took a half step back but kept his arms crossed, standing towering to back up his wife. Emma knelt on the wet sand, pointing toward the towering white-capped waves. "Leo, look out there," Emma said, her voice cold and carrying weight. "Do you see those waves curling and crashing down hard? That is not a playground. Beneath those waves are invisible rip currents. If you step in, that current will pull you away from the shore faster than any floaty can hold you back." She took his hand, pointing to the red flag. "The red flag is not a decoration. It is the lifeguard's warning cry, saying entering this water means death. When Daddy angrily clenches his fists, it is because he cannot accept you throwing your life away just out of arrogance. The ocean does not care how good a swimmer you are. Arrogance before nature is always paid for with one's life." Leo looked at the ferocious waves, his naive confidence vanishing, replaced by genuine fear. Trembling, the boy clung to his father's leg. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I will not go in. I'm scared the waves will sweep me away." Daniel relaxed his shoulder muscles, kneeling to hug his son. "I yelled loud because I love you. Safety has no room for stubbornness. You will not go in the ocean today, and tomorrow you must ask the lifeguard for permission before touching a toe in the water." A few days later, the weather returned to its calm state. The central beach area was packed with people and colorful umbrellas. Leo, feeling the space was too cramped to build his giant sandcastle, decisively demanded his parents walk along the beach to find another spot to swim. After walking quite a distance, they found a small, isolated cove with crystal clear water and a flat, sandy beach. There were no lifeguards, no warning buoy lines, only absolute silence. Leo cheered excitedly, "Daddy, this place is awesome! It is spacious and no one is fighting for space. Let us swim here so we can be comfortable." Daniel scanned the isolated area, then looked toward the tiny lifeguard tower blurring in the far distance. A protector's intuition instantly activated. "No, Leo. This area has no lifeguard on duty and no safety marker flags. We must go back to the crowded area," Daniel said decisively. Leo instantly sulked. The selfishness of a child wanting private space made him resist. Leo stuck his lip out, furrowed his brows, and slammed his plastic shovel hard onto the sand. "But it's too cramped over there, and noisy. I want to play here. I'll just swim around you guys, it is fine." This time, Daniel did not yell loudly, but his authority radiated an invisible pressure. He squinted his eyes sharply, his lips pressed tightly into a straight line. He stood with his arms crossed, his shoulders tensed. "Leo says, family rule, we only enter the water where a lifeguard is watching. Comfort is never prioritized over safety." Leo's pouting began to turn into a tantrum. Emma stepped forward. She understood the child only saw the superficial comfort without seeing the hidden traps. Gently but firmly, she pulled her son closer. "Leo, look at me," Emma said, her voice soothing but sharp. "You like the isolated place because you think it is free, right? But do you know why this place is empty? Because no one checks to see if beneath that water there are sharp underwater rocks, sinkholes, or a school of venomous jellyfish. The most isolated place on the beach is often the most dangerous." Emma pointed toward the distant lifeguard tower. "If something happens to you here, Mom and Dad alone might not be able to handle it in time. The lifeguard is the only person with the proper equipment and skills to save us. When you demand to swim in an unmonitored area just to be comfortable, you are stripping away your own biggest life preserver. Do you see Daddy squinting? Daddy would rather you play in a cramped but safe place than have you regret it in a vast place where no one can hear your cries for help." His mother's explanation made Leo realize the terrifying truth behind the peaceful beauty of the isolated cove. He looked at the clear water with a wary eye. Leo took his mother's hand then. "Then let us go back to the lifeguard. I do not like this place anymore." Daniel nodded in approval. He took his son's tiny hand and led him back to the safe zone. On the last day at the beach, the sun beat down with fierce, blazing rays at noon. Daniel and Emma had retreated under a large umbrella, drinking cold water and resting. "Leo, it is time for a lunch break. The sun is very harsh. Come in here, rest, and drink some water," Daniel called out. But Leo was engrossed in his sandcastle project. He was busy digging a small tunnel through a tower. "Just 5 more minutes, Daddy. I'm almost done," Leo replied, sweat pouring down his forehead. 15 minutes passed and Leo was still passionately working under the scorching sun. Until he stood up to get more seawater, the world around him suddenly swayed. Leo staggered, his face turning pale, sweat pouring off him like rain, and he collapsed onto the hot sand. Daniel sprang up like a coiled spring. He dashed over and scooped up his fainting son into the shade. Daniel's heart felt squeezed tight. His frustration with himself for not firmly forcing his son to rest earlier mixed with anger over his son's stubbornness. Daniel's face was rigidly tense. His eyes widened, etched with red lines, his eyebrows surged together in deep distress. He ground his teeth audibly, his nostrils flaring repeatedly as he hurriedly wiped his son's face with a wet towel. "Why do you always ignore my warnings, Leo? Do you know you just got heat stroke?" Daniel said in panic. Emma quickly mixed an electrolyte drink. Her hands were shaking, but she tried to remain calm. She pressed her cold hands against her son's burning forehead. When Leo began to regain a little consciousness, sobbing from exhaustion and dizziness, Emma gently spoke up. "Leo, stop crying! Drink a sip of water," Emma coaxed, her voice sad but resolute. Do you see Daddy's hands shaking and his eyes full of fear? Your stubbornness just made your body collapse. You were so engrossed in building the sandcastle that you forgot to listen to your own body. The sun burned away all your energy, and if Daddy had not carried you in time, you would be in the hospital. She stroked her son's pale face. Perseverance and work is good, but if you do not know when to stop, if you do not know how to protect your health, all efforts become meaningless. Is that sandcastle as important as your life? The lesson today is when your body says it is tired, or when an adult says stop, you must comply immediately. No exceptions. Leo hugged his mother's neck, tears rolling down his exhausted face. I'm sorry. My head hurts so much. I will not go in the sun anymore. Daniel breathed a sigh of relief. He gently rubbed his son's back. Mom and Dad will take care of you. But this afternoon you will have to rest in the hotel room. You are not allowed to go outside anymore. That is the consequence of not knowing when to stop. Through the 3 incidents on the beach, Leo had come to understand that behind his parents' seemingly unreasonable strictness lay invaluable survival lessons. By combining the father's authority with the mother's deep psychological analysis, the storms of stubbornness were neutralized, making way for the solid maturity of a 6-year-old boy.